course made Kiri holler out because she really did like and really did love Eliza. So that was hard for her to see. And so she takes her into, of course she has her goons with her, but they take her into the library, tie her up. She takes a picture and she sends it to someone. And she lets her know, like, I'm basically going to torture you until I decide I'm ready to kill you. And so while this is happening, and right before then Gina tells Tobias to knock her out. So he gives her a few blows, and then the one in the back of her head, and that's when it goes black for Kiri. So Roth was outside by the helicopter talking to Harris, and he had only been out there for like 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden he gets a text message, and then you start hearing cracks and there's fire shots. And clearly if they wanted to hit them, they could have, but they were trying to drive them away from the inside of the penthouse, and it worked. And but they could see where they had killed Eliza, and that was like super sad for both Roth and for Harris, because Harris viewed her as a mother as well. And so Harris is like, we got to get out of here. Roth is like, I'm not leaving her again. And he's like, we've got to. If we're going to save her, we've got to get out of here, or we're going to be dead. There's no point. So they took the helicopter up to Harlem. He knew a guy. He was getting some ammunition. And then he told him, we're going to go pick up Henri at the airport. And he's like, why is Henri here? And then he tells him what happened. And so when they get there, Roth is so apologetic. He's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, because he realized, the guy's bar had been, he finds out it's been torched. Gina sent more men back and torched the place. And so now Henri's just like, listen, I'm just out for blood. I just want the bitch dead, like, it is what it is. She just needs to be dead. He's like, the only thing, I don't want to have to deal with Vitaly, with the repercussions of him, but at this point it just doesn't even matter. Text message that Gina had sent, that was sent to Roth, to show him, I got your girl, and I'm gonna have fun torturing her. So they don't know precisely yet where she's headed, because she's taken Kyrie as well, so they don't know exactly where she's headed. But Henri has some way he was able to track, and so they know she's somewhere on her way to Greece, on some island outside of it. And they go to Bulgaria, to get some more men, because they're going up against like a little army, so they kind of need more people. So they offer the mercenaries like 50 grand. Actually, they were going to offer them more, but the mercenaries was like, if you 50 grand a piece, we'll do it. And so Roth is like, okay, we'll do it. I'll give you half now, and when it's finished, I'll give you the other half. And they said, well, we can't guarantee life. Like, we don't know if we're going to be able to bring her out. And he said, I'll give you the other money regardless of whether we can get her out of there dead or alive. I will still give you the other part. So, all right, deal. So they've taken Kiri. They're on this island in this, I always say tower, because that's how I view it. And they've gone and gotten this girl, and of course Kiri's tied up. This woman named Lisa, they went and got her, and then they raped and stabbed her. The Tobias guy, he is really sick. Okay, well, I mean, Gina's sick too, but these people are sick. And so he raped and killed the girl right in front of Kiri. But they did that because they wanted her to know, this is what we're going to do to you. And so this whole time, like, Kiri's holding her pee. Like, she's got to pee, but she's holding it. And so he was ready to, the Tobias guy was ready to like try and start raping Kiri. And so Gina's like, don't touch her yet. I'm not done having fun with her. When I'm done, then you can have at her. And then she cut off Kiri's hair, so Kiri's bald now. Like, she was just, I'm like, oh my gosh. So Gina leaves, and when she leaves, Tobias sneaks back in, and he's like, screw what she said. I'm gonna have my fun now. And so again, he gets off, like his dick doesn't even get hard unless he sees bruises, blood, like he has to see pain. So he's a sadist, but I think it's on another level too. And so he like unties her, lays her on the bed, and then he like punches the back of her legs until she's bruised. And then he turns her around and he like breaks her nose until she's bleeding. And then once she starts bleeding, he's like super hard now. And so that's when Kyrie took her legs, even though her legs been shot. It's wrapped. They did wrap it up for her. Oh, how nice. And she, with everything she had, she like lifted up her legs and she like wrapped them around his head, around his neck. And then she just pissed. And so he's all discombobulated and he's like falling back. And so then she was able to get his gun and she shoots him and she kills him. Like she shoots him like in the head, everywhere. Like she shoots him a few times. And like to make sure that that little sick son of a bitch was dead. That was an evil freaking person. And so then Gina comes running in the room and she's like, oh, she's like, Tobias, we gotta go, they're here. And when she sees Tobias, she's like, oh shit. And then Kyrie, I love how Kiri didn't try and do some long speech. This is a dangerous woman. You just kill her. And that's what she did. She just shot her dead in her stomach, and then she shot her in the chest. And every time she shot her, she said who it was for. And she said, this is for Valentine. And then when she shot her in the head, she said, this is for me. And so then she's like limping. And so she doesn't have on any bottom. So she goes, as gory as this scene is, she takes Tobias's pants and his belt, because he's a big dude, and she wraps them around herself so she can get out of there. And while she's going down, Roth is coming up. And she shot at him, but she didn't know it was him. And he was like, Kiri, and it's her. And so she's like, is it really you? And so he says yes. And when she knew it was him, she just went out. She just passed out. So he gets her back to the other guys. And they're like, is she dead? Did you kill her? And he's like, Gina and Tobias are dead. And they're looking at him, they're like, you did it? And he's like, nah, she did it. And so they kind of looked at her. She's passed out, but they're looking at her with some respect, because these are people that you normally can't even get close enough to kill, And the fact that she took out both of them, and they all knew how sick and twisted both of them were, it was like, this is crazy. And so they knew that, Vitaly, this was his daughter, so he's going to come after you. And so Roth was like, you know what, get me the biggest boat you can. He was like, we're just going to have to, I'll streamline everything. And I know he's coming, but when he gets to me, I'll be ready. So Kiri is like passed out, because she just, she's had massive trauma. So he's brought a doctor on board to like, take care of her and stuff like that. But different times, she's been asleep for like 3 days and stuff like that. So she's, trying to get some of her strength back. And he kind of explains to her like, what's happening, what's going on. And then of course they, she's not fully well to like fully do it, but like a few days later she kind of has a little bit more strength, and I guess she needed it. So then they have sex, whatever, and then it goes from there. And then then the book goes to Vitaly, and at this point he's at that home, and he's seeing all the bodies. He's seeing his daughter's body, and he was like, who did this? Like, who would do this to me? And he's asking, like, has anyone looked at the tapes? And the guy's like, oh, I haven't looked at the tapes yet. He takes his gun out and he shoots the guy, kills him right then. And so then his right hand man is a guy named Cut. And so Cut says, I'll get the videotapes. I'll get the tapes. And so he gets them, and they're looking, and they're like, is that Roth? And so Vitaly's like, that can't be. Like, he's been silent for like 10 years. He hasn't said anything, hasn't bothered me. Like, there's no way. So then they keep watching the tapes, and then they see Kiri. They see this woman. They see a blonde woman go in that they bring in to this room. And then they see them bring another woman in. But see, they know the sick and twistedness of Gina. They knew who she was. They knew she was crazy. What they didn't know was that she was still hung up on Roth. And so he knew from looking at it, they're like, nah, she brought in that second woman to show her what she was going to do to her. And she was like, he's just like, why would she do this? I told her to let go of him. And because she hadn't been talking about him, they assumed that she had let it go. But she had just been formulating a plan. That was it. And so he's like, what happened at the other residence? And so he's like, don't worry, I'll find out. So then that's when he finds out that, you know, she kidnapped Roth and that all the dead bodies and everything. She cleaned up everything at that site because she didn't want her father to know what she was doing. And so he never paid attention to it. But then after this, they go back and they figure out, oh, this is what happened. And so now he's like, you know, well, I got to get him. Like, he crossed me. I got to kill him. So now it's a matter of everyone that girl knows and everyone that Roth knows. I want a list, and I want it ASAP because I've got to teach him a lesson. And so that part irked me because I'm like, you knew your daughter was like, she died of her own, that was her problem. Like, she killed herself. If she would have left Roth alone, she wouldn't have died that way. I mean, I'm sure someone else maybe would have worked up the nerve to kill her. I don't know. But it was like, you are still going to go after them even though they were literally just defending themselves because she wouldn't leave them alone. That to me is kind of crazy. But I guess when you have, you know, everyone looking at you, this is like a crime lord, like for the world. This isn't like some little local crap. This is a worldwide known crime lord. So I guess he can't have people thinking that it's acceptable to kill his kid. Doesn't matter what the circumstances are. That's not acceptable. So they have sailed back to South Africa, and they're on the coast. They're docked, and because they have this massive yacht, and Vitaly knows about it because this guy Cut has done the research, and he's like, I know it's him because there's only a few amount of people in the world that can afford the boat that was just purchased with cash under a false name. So they know it's him. So now it's just a matter of how they're going to attack. So Vitaly's like, I just got to plan this out. That's it. That's all. But I'm going to get him. So they're on the coast in South Africa, and Roth receives mail from a carrier, and it is a list, and it has a list of everyone that they know. So Layla's on the list, Harris is on the list, and at this point he said he sent Harris away, but I'm like, there's no way he sent Harris away. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. So Harris, though, is in the States. As soon as he gets that list, and it has his father's name listed on, I mean, everyone is listed on there. Kiri's brother, mother, everyone. And so when Roth reads that note, Kiri comes up and he tells he was straight with her. Yeah, it means